from this point forward will be recorded in a nice little video. And Barbara, since you weren't in the invitation initially, I'll just add you afterwards so you could get the recording as soon as it's done. It'll be in Google Calendar. Yeah, thanks. And if not, I'll just email it out. All right, so today we're talking about Google Drive, and it's pretty much just a basic overview because there is a lot to know. It's essentially like an online filing cabinet, so you just have folders. You can put documents and files in those folders, or you can kind of leave them in the general Google Drive area. You also have a shared with me section where people can share documents with you, which is kind of the meat and potatoes of Google Drive. It's what sets it apart from like Microsoft Word and things like that. You can upload photos and videos, which is pretty exciting. And then you can link to those photos, videos, files, and you can put those links in your Moodle course so that students can access them. It also allows for live collaboration. So if you wanted to do something with your students where you're all kind of writing something in one space or working on a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint, that is an option too. And a lot of students already use Google Drive because it's free and it comes with our Marywood email. So there are a lot of functionality aspects with it that students get to use. You get to download Google Docs files as Word files if you like, so you can submit papers. You can download your Google Slides presentations as PowerPoints, and you can download your Google Sheets as Excel spreadsheets. So you have direct connections. And likewise, you can also upload your Word, Excel, and PowerPoint files and then edit them in Google Drive. So that's pretty cool too. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a limit on how big the file can be?
To my knowledge, no.
Okay.
I think that Google Drive is unlimited because we are a G Suite school, so we have like a contract, I think. Could be wrong. But I haven't hit a limit yet. So if you do, definitely let me know.
All right.
But we have hour-long videos from these Google Meet recordings, and they go straight into Google Drive, and we haven't had problems. So I think we should be good. Videos are pretty large files.
Yeah.
So I think the sky's the limit. The sky's the limit. Okay, so what I usually do for Google Drive is go right to my email, but you can always go to drive.google.com if you like. That is a direct access to your Google Drive, but you'll notice that I'm technically in my Kovaleski one, so it always goes to your default email that you're signed into. And if you're like me and have access to a couple different Marywood emails, the best way to go into a specific drive is to go straight from your email. So this is my ETS workshops email. And if I want to access the drive for this email, you just click on Google Apps in the top right. It's this little waffle icon. And then Drive should be somewhere in this list. It's usually in the top part, so it's pretty easy to find, but sometimes you might have to scroll and find it somewhere further down. It's usually at the top though. And it's this nice little triangle, green, yellow, and blue. And when you click on it, it opens up in a new tab. And because I opened it from that specific email, it is now that specific drive. So the workshops account, I'm in that drive right now. So I usually just go through the email to make sure I'm in the right place. And if you only have access to one Marywood email, you don't even have to worry about getting confused. But because I have 2 or 3 to look over, I usually go through the email. But when you click on Drive, you get right into my drive, as you can see over here on the left. And this is where I have all of my things that I've created or that I have uploaded, any folders I've created as well, and anything that I've moved over from the Shared With Me section, which I will talk about in a little bit. But I've created most of these folders. The little people icons indicate that they've been shared with other people. So the ones that are blank are just my own folders that I only have access to. The ones with the little arrows are ones that I made a shortcut of from Shared With Me, which again, I'll explain in a little bit. And then any files down here have different icons to indicate what type of file they are. So these blue squares with the lines are Google Docs. These red ones with the white lines on top are videos. And the purple ones are Google Forms. This green one with a cross on it is a Google Sheet. And then this one blatantly says PDF, so you could tell what it is. So it's pretty self-explanatory. For Word documents, it's a W. For PowerPoint, it's usually a P, things like that. So you get to figure it out pretty quickly. There are 2 ways to view your Google Drive. Right now I am in grid view, which means I get a preview of everything. So I can see the text before I click on something, which is kind of nice. But if you like it in a list form, more like what you see on your PC, you could just click on this list view button right here, and you get it listed out for you. And this is also nice because you get more information on this stuff. So for example, these folders, I can see when they were last modified and who modified them, which is especially useful when you start sharing things. So I have access to all of these. I changed them all most recently, except for 2018. That's not too recent. But I can see which ones I've interacted with. I can see who the owner of things are. And usually if it's in my drive, you are the owner, but you'll see right here that this Brightspace training documentation folder is not mine. So you can kind of tell who is the owner and who maybe is not. In general, you get a file size if it's not a Google Doc or a Google Sheet or a Google Slide. They don't technically have file sizes, which is kind of interesting. But like videos, they have their own file sizes, and like Word docs, things like that, they typically do. So you could see that here as well in list view. But I personally like grid view the most just because I like seeing that preview before I click on it, so I know exactly what I'm getting myself into. And you might also notice from when I had it open before, there's this little icon. It is for details. So if you wanted to click on something just once, it kind of gives you the details of that document or file over on the right. So this one might be a little bit better. This document right here, because I have this eye icon open, it tells me that I am the owner. This EdTech Library Workshops is the owner. And then I have it shared with Kat, who can edit it. So I have access to who exactly is involved in this document. It's a Google Doc, so I could see that here, how much storage is used. And like I said, Google Docs are free, which is interesting. I don't think I knew that. The location is in my drive, as I can see here. But if you were like searching for it, you can also see where it lives, who the owner is, and then some different dates and times for modification, when it was opened, when it was created. So some nice details and any activity that's been done. So I moved it recently from a couple different folders, and I made a copy of it at some point. So I can see what the history of this document is, which is pretty cool. Are there any questions so far?
Oh, that's really cool. I didn't know that because I got so many of them mixed up. You know, I mean, the kids were sending me different. I didn't know which version I was looking at.
Right. Yeah, usually I look at the date of last modification, and if it was last year, then that's definitely not it. But yeah, it's super nice, but it does take up some space. So if you wanted to get rid of it, you just click on the eye again to kind of collapse it, but you can open it at any time. So there is like a difference between single clicking and double clicking in Google Drive. When you single click on it, it just kind of highlights it, as you can see. And that's super useful for looking at the details like we just did, or if you just want to trash it from up here, you want to preview it, add people to the sharing group, get a link. These are all quick activities you could do with it when you single click. Otherwise, double clicking it just kind of opens it up. So this is a Google Doc. Pretty good example of one of your basic file types in Google Drive. It's pretty much just Word, but online. You have your document name up here. You have your document text down here, and any tools that you would see in Word, except they're kind of in different areas. So it gets a little bit interesting trying to find where the different features are, but you kind of come around to it after a while. I described earlier that you can actually click on File and download it as a Word doc. So if you wanted to send it as a Word doc instead of a Google Doc, that's cool. You could do that here. Same with the PDF. You can change it to a PDF. You can also email them straight from Google Docs. So if you know you want to attach this document to an email, you can just click Email as Attachment, and then it opens up an email right here. So it just attaches it. You don't have to worry about finding it again, which could be a little tricky. I have used this once before. It is pretty cool, though technically, since it's a new feature, it has some little bugs. Nothing crazy, but I still like directly attaching it so I know exactly what the email looks like before I send it. But this is the quickest way to do it for sure. You can also see a share button up here in the top right, which is definitely Google Drive's best feature. If you click on it, you can actually share it with specific people, or you could just get a link to share it generally. So for example, this document is shared with Kat. I own it, so she can edit it just as if she were owning this document. So we both have direct editing access to it. But there are two other options for access as well. There's commenter, which kind of acts like a track changes sort of role, where anyone who is a commenter can then add to the document, but it comes up as suggestions to the document owner. So this is great for peer review. I talked to a couple professors last week about it. If students uploaded their papers to Google Drive and shared them to the class, or if they wanted to add their partner for peer review in this share with people in groups, they can add them as a commenter so that they can go in and make like edits, but it's not directly to the paper itself. They're just suggestions that the owner can then accept or reject. So it's kind of nice in that way as well. You can also just have them as viewers.
Is that right on the document? Do they make the suggestion right on the document? Like,
right.
I remember it being in red or something like that.
Yeah, it's in a different color so you could tell, and it puts your name on the side with what you changed. So I can actually share it with both of you, or a document with both of you so you could see what that looks like. It's pretty cool and very manageable by the owner. So nothing can be directly changed, and they can always get rid of those edits if they want to. But yeah, I could definitely show you guys how that works. It's definitely a very good feature. And the last one is just viewing. So just looking at it, not doing anything else to it, which is kind of a standard way to share it with others. So that's specifically sharing with people. The second way is with a link. So if you clicked on the bottom part, it lets you get a link for it. The links are a little interesting because they involve an audience and an access as well. So the audience by default is restricted to the people who are already in the sharing group. So if I sent this link out, only Kat would be able to open it because she's the only one here that I have it shared with. But you can change it to Marywood University Gmail, but be wary of this because it is only for faculty and staff. So this does not include student emails. They are on a different domain. So the Marywood University Gmail group only applies to those with maryu.marywood.edu emails. So just keep that in mind if you plan on sharing this in Moodle courses or something. But if you're just sending it out to people, usually it's faculty, staff, so Marywood University Gmail would be fine. But if you want to send it out to students, it's going to have to be public, so anyone with the link. The only problem with links is that people can definitely share them outside of the group. So it's very free, kind of whoever shares the link, whoever opens that link can then access the things, but it's kind of rare that that happens within our community, but just keep that in mind.
So the Marywood University people, do you get individuals or does it go to everybody?
Well, this link is actually for you to send out, so it's whoever you want to send it to.
But I mean, if you click on Marywood University Gmail, will you get choices of people you would like to share it with, or does it automatically go to everybody who's on the faculty?
Well, it includes everyone. It doesn't give you options. It's just, yeah, if you sent it out to like the faculty listserv, because they're all faculty, they could then access it. Whereas if you sent it out to the student listserv with this audience on, they would not be able to access it at all. So, yeah. But like I said, there is different access for these audiences as well, but it's still the same three. It's viewer, commenter, and editor. So you can get as collaborative or as restrictive as you like with either option, either the sharing with specific people or getting a link. You just have to remember to keep the access the way you want it and the audience as well. But you can change it at any time. So you can revoke access, you can completely shut it off. So if you accidentally made it public and you didn't want to, you can just turn the link right off, and anyone who tries to click on it from this point forward will no longer be able to. So it's very foolproof in that you can revoke access at any time and they won't be able to click on it ever again. So If you made a
Well, I was
mistake,
just
it's
imagining that
fixable.
I would be sending something to the entire faculty if I just wanted to send it to music department, you know.
Mhm.
You can
Right,
do that
yeah.
there. Yeah. I was like, I
The
click on
nice
that and
part
everybody gets to see.
well, the nice part about that is that that link is completely whoever you send it to will then click on it. So it won't accidentally send it out to the whole faculty. It'll just be a link that can be opened by faculty, hypothetically. That's kind of what
Okay.
that means. So that's nice. It doesn't send out an email automatically. Thank goodness.
Yeah, thank
Are
goodness.
there any questions so far? I'm going to close out of that. I did want to show you how it looks to do a commenting sort of access. So I'm going to open up this Google Doc. Another way to share it would then be to right click it and click share. You get that same box here. But it's kind of, the same exact thing. So it's really up to you which one you want to use. So I'm going to send it out to both of you. I will show you here that you can change the access for whoever you add in this box. So I'll make you both commenters. I'll choose to notify you as well, which means you'll get an email. So if you want to have your email up so you can see where this document comes to, and I'll include a message just so you can see what that looks like. So once I click send, it should send you an email and it'll say what kind of access you have and that I'm inviting you to comment on it. So I'll show you what that looks like when people start coming in, because it is a live collaboration. So you can see when other people enter your document, if you're in it the same time as they are, you can see what they write as soon as they write it, which means you can then also chat with them as they're in the document. So it kind of makes it a nice little group project of sorts. And you can also work on different versions of the documents. So once people start making suggestions, you can always accept them or reject them. But there's also a way to go essentially back in time to a time when the document was untouched by other people. So if you didn't like the document changes after a while, you could always revert back to its previous version. And to do that, there's actually some text here. It always says when the last edit is, whether that's by you or someone else. So if I clicked last edit was 6 days ago, it opens the version history. So I actually was able to name it at one point because I had some peer reviews in here. But you can see when I first created it, which was August 11th, I can click all the way back on that when it was completely blank and unuseful. By 4:54 on that day, I had all this text. And then by August 12th at 12:55, I had even more text. And you can see what was added and by who. So most of this was by Riley, which is me. And then some of it was by the workshops account. And then I added someone else in here and they added this nice little dash, which I then accepted. So that made it a change on my part. And then I had some more people in here. I accepted this change. And then by August 13th at 12:07, I just kind of reverted it to my August 12th version, as you can see here. I restored it to a time when I didn't have some extra text in there. And you can name these at any time, which is cool as well. So if I wanted to say that this is the final version, I would know that this is my final version of this document. But you can change it to any previous version at any time. It's completely up to you. But that's super nice. If you're collaborating with others, then you can always know that you can go back to a time when it was pure and untouched in a way. Are there any questions about that? Or anything in general?
I use this mostly or I've used it in the past when students are doing recital. So they send me their program. I remember doing this. I didn't remember how I did it, but I think they sent it to me, and so then I started to edit it. And then when I went back another time, I didn't understand how I could do that. So once they shared it to me, and I want to make changes, what do I do? What do I click on?
So most often you will get an email that someone shared something with you. So you'll probably see one in your inbox now from the workshops account. It'll be very similar to that email. It'll tell you what kind of access you have and what the document is and what it's titled and who shared it with you. So you can kind of keep tabs on which student shared what with you. But another section that you can actually go to all the time is the shared with me section in your Google Drive. And that is everything that's been shared with you, either directly from a student or indirectly through Google sites, such as our EdTech website. So if you have a lot of stuff you don't understand, that's why.
Yeah, I sort of clicked around and figured, now you reminded me of that. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Something super important to remember in the shared with me section is the sorting ability. So that'll be your best friend. If you click on the text over on the far right, mine says name, but yours might say something different. You can click on it and change it to the share date. So whatever the most recent date of sharing was, that'll be what it's sorted by. You have last modified, name. Usually I have it on name just so I know, but usually it's nice to have the share date so you could see like last week these things were shared with me, last month these things were shared with me. So you can kind of keep a timetable on it. You can also search in your drive. So if you wanted to search from a person, so if you wanted to put in a student's name to see who shared stuff with you, or even like, you know, a colleague, you could see all the things that they have, they own or have shared with you. So it's kind of nice to keep that in mind too if you still can't find the document or file you're looking for. But I mentioned before about shortcuts from Shared With Me. That is a new feature that is my best friend, really, because there are a lot of things in Shared With Me that I also need to edit because I'm an editor on them or I'm sharing it with someone else so we can work on it together. And it's always nice to have it shortcutted to my drive so that I could find it easier. Because as you can see, the Shared With Me section is a bit of a cluster just because you can't add folders to it because this isn't technically your stuff. You didn't create it, it's someone else's. So it's just in this one big lump, essentially. But if you want to make a shortcut, you just right click on anything you want to make a shortcut of, and then click Add Shortcut to Drive. And then it asks you where in Drive you want to put it. So if you want to just put it in My Drive in general, you don't want to put it in a folder, you can just click My Drive and click Add Shortcut. Or if you want to put it in a folder, you just click on the little arrow, and then all of your folders pop up. So I can click any of these, such as workshop surveys, and then just add shortcut, sends it right to that folder. And you can see where it added it in case you accidentally click something and you forgot what folder it was. It'll let you know in the bottom left. So if I go back to my drive and click on that folder I added it to, it should be in here. And it has a little arrow pointing up, which indicates the shortcut. So it's nice to further organize anything that you need to access so that the My Drive section becomes that hub where you go to edit things. You can create a folder for each student if they're sending you multiple documents, or a folder for each class if, you know, all the students in that class are sending you programs. You could just make a folder and then create shortcuts from Shared With Me when they send you their programs, and you can send those shortcuts straight to the folder for that class. So that's just one example of organizing that might be easy instead of just searching through Shared With Me for endless
minutes. Can you go to My Drive and select certain ones and then put them all in the folder or not?
Yep. Yes, exactly. You can click and drag, so you can just kind of left click and then drag it up to wherever you want. Or if you want to do multiple, you can do this thing where you kind of draw a square and highlight them, and then you can drag them. Or you can just click on one once and hold in the Control key on your keyboard. And then as you click other ones, they highlight blue, and then you could drag them wherever you need to. So much easier than just, you know, doing it manually, I guess. Clicking and dragging is the best way to go. Though if you did want to do it more manually, you can right click on something and click on Move To, and then it opens that same little organization panel that you saw and Shared With Me. So whatever way you like to do it, you have both options. Are there any other questions? I'm trying to think if there's anything else to mention, because the sharing is the biggest thing. You can also share folders, which I didn't mention. you can see that there's little people icons on these folders. If I click on it and then click on that little information panel, it tells me what kind of sharing is enabled. So I'm the owner of this folder, but there's also a link that I've activated so anyone on the internet can view it. So if I send out the link for this folder, anyone I send it to can then open it without an issue. Same thing as with documents, you can just right click on it and click on share. You can share it with specific people who will then have that folder in their shared with me section. They can move it as a shortcut over to my drive. It kind of works just like a document in that way. But you can also get a link. And then the only difference with folders is that you only get viewers or editors. And editors for folders can organize, add, and edit files to the folder. So they have a little bit more manipulation access, essentially. They can move things around, they can add their own files, they can edit files that are in the folder, whereas viewers could just see everything that's in there, and that's pretty much it. So it kind of trickles down. If you share a parent folder, any child folders within that folder will then be shared as well, and any files within those folders will be shared. So it's kind of a trickle-down sort of sharing system. That's an easy way to share a whole bunch of things with a whole bunch of people all at once. So that's kind of nice and also dangerous, technically. But yeah, that's a big one, especially if you have like a class folder that you want to put all your videos in. I'm not sure how you set up your Moodle courses, but if you had a bunch of videos you just want to put in a folder and then link the folder to your Moodle course, that's like one way of doing it. But is there anything else I can help you guys with?
Oh, Riley, in general terms, when do you left click and when do you right click? Now, I've noticed the things you just told us about this, but you know, is there some general rule about that, or?
Yeah, left clicking is essentially just, if you left click once, you're just selecting something. So I left clicked on this EdTech documentation folder, and it just highlighted it. Because I have this little eye icon open, it's showing me details. If I double left click on it, it opens it up.
Okay.
And then right clicking once just gives you this menu. So the right click is for if you want to edit it in any way, whether that's sharing it or moving it, renaming it, changing its color, things like that. Okay. Whereas left click is just selecting it, and then double clicking it opens it up.
Right. And the bottom line is, if I make a mistake, I'm not going to wreck everything.
Exactly. Okay. You can always go back in time, essentially. And if you ever wanted me to check something to make sure that it's shared correctly, let me know. We've had a couple questions about that. And it's super easy to forget that the Marywood University Gmail audience is not for students, because it sounds like it should be, but it's not. So if you wanted me to check something, you can definitely ask, and I would be happy to.
Yeah, thank you.
Just want to clarify what I asked before. And it says Marywood faculty and staff. If I clicked on that, would I get emails of all this faculty and staff or not?
No.
No, that would go to everyone who wanted to open it. Is that right?
Well,
like how would, if I wanted to do something, like if I wanted to, is that only for when you want to like blast it out to everybody?
Well, it's not going to send an email automatically. It's just going to adjust the audience for the link that's there. So, for example, if I click get shareable link, and this is already on Marywood University Gmail, I can just copy this link. And then if I put it in an email to someone, then if they fall in this audience, they can open it. So it's just giving you control over this link. Yeah.
I see. Okay.
Which is nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's
and
just.
How about like how long do you think? I think I was doing like double stuff because I was afraid I was going to lose it, and I was like making it in a Word or sending it to myself, and you know I was like going back and forth because I was concerned that I wasn't going to have it for some reason. So once I, for instance, edit it, if a student sent me, because I usually ask them to send me it, and once I've edited it, I can count on it being there and being able to email it from here and get it right back from them. I mean, I think I was doing like double work because I was concerned that it wasn't going to stay. So I'd send it to myself or I'd send it to them on regular email. I was going back and forth with that.
Right.
But it was like crazy.
No, I don't blame you, because it actually used to be the case where when you uploaded a Word document, you had to make a copy of it in Google Drive, and then you had like all these copies of a Word document. And it was very confusing. So it's actually a good thing to bring up, because I didn't show you how to upload a file. And I'll show you how to then edit it too, if you would like. So to upload a file, or even create a folder, or create a file at all, you can just click the new button up in the top left, and then you get all of those options. So if I wanted to upload a Word doc to then send out to someone so they can review it, you could click File Upload. And then I'll look here at my desktop and find a Word document that works. So you double click on it and it starts uploading, and it gives you a little update in the bottom right. And then once it's done, it just kind of shows up in here. So here it is. So you can open it up just by double clicking on it, double left click, and then you can open it in Google Docs. And this is still the same document. It does not make a copy of it. It's just letting you open it in Google Docs if the internet works. Okay, there it is.
And that happened by your double left clicking. It opened it in Google Docs. Okay.
Yeah, double left clicking brought it up in that preview space, and then at the very top it said open with Google Docs, because it's a Word doc, so that's the direct tool that it corresponds with. So say a student sent this to you, you opened it up, it looks like this. You can then go through and grade it if that's what you're doing with it. And then because it's shared with you by the student, they can see all of those edits. So you don't really have to send it back. You can kind of send them an email to say, hey, I looked at this, here are some updates. But because it's shared with the two of you, they'll be able to see it in their Google Drive as well, which is nice. It's kind of like the next level of document sharing, because you don't have to keep sending it back and forth. You kind of have a main point in this document. You're both you have a hand in it, so they can see whatever edits you make, and you can see whatever edits they make. So you don't really have to send it back and forth if you don't want to.
Okay.
I will say, though, something very useful is this little pencil icon in the top right. Sometimes, depending on the student's knowledge of Google Drive, they won't send you like commenting access. Maybe they'll just directly send it with editing access, which means you can change things. So if you don't want to, you can turn on Google Docs version of track changes. So if you click on this little pencil icon that says editing mode, you can change it to suggesting, so that every edit you make then turns into a comment. So then the student can see that. They'll see this little like box around it. I'll zoom back out so you could see it. And they'll see a comment on the side with your name, and they can reply to it saying like, that's a great idea, thank you for the feedback. Or they can reject it if they didn't like it.
Thank you for that. I totally forgot how to do that. I remember doing it one time, it happened by accident,
right.
I guess. And then next time I was like, I used to be able to write on the side here and I couldn't do it.
Exactly. So that's one way to do it, but there are also just comments that you can write. So I'll just change this back to editing. But if you look at the top bar here, this little square message with a plus in it is a comment. You can do that wherever your cursor is. Or my favorite is when you hover to the right, like on the border of the document, this is also a comment. So you can comment on entire sections. You can also just highlight something and then comment on it. So they make it pretty easy. They just kind of have this floating comment button wherever you're at. And something really cool about this for both yourself and whoever you're sharing this with is this little comment history button next to the share button. It shows you all comments that have been made, if they were rejected or accepted. So that's pretty cool too. Even if you dismiss the comments, all of the history of it are in here too. So, and I will say, because it's happened to me before, when you upload a Google Doc that already has comments in it, it will take those comments from the Google Doc, or the Word doc rather, and put them in here. So you'll actually see any comments that have already been made on your Word doc if there are any. So it's easy to kind of pick up where you left off.
So I know this is a basic question, but you highlight, like say it wasn't, something wasn't capitalized and it needed to be. So you highlight, where is the color? How do you get the color? Is that the crayon that's here?
Oh, well, if you wanted to
just want to show them.
Right. Do you mean like when you make a comment for it?
Like they're making titles for instance, foreign languages songs. Sometimes they're, you know, and so sometimes I have to say, you don't need this, or I have to highlight it, and I could show them what they need, and make a comment. But how do I highlight it in like red or color?
Well, by default, the comment button will highlight it yellow for you. But then if you want to make it a different color, oops. If you want to make it a different color, you left click and drag, and I think it is this little marker.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and there's a ton of colors.
I kind of use that a lot, so that's why.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, good question. Nothing's too basic because it's all in different places too. So it's kind of.
So if you had a music file, like say, can you upload something from YouTube on this and share?
If it's your own video, technically yes. If it's someone else's, you can just grab the link from the YouTube video and share it that way.
And share the link. So if it was, yes, I could do that. If I had my own video, because I had to, you know, do something like sometimes for songs for jury, I might be accompanying something or that. And if I have something on my phone that I wanted to upload, how would I do that here?
Oh, okay. Yeah, looking for my phone right now. If you have an Android or an Apple phone, you can download the Google Drive app, and then that way you can upload anything from your phone to your Google Drive, which would include videos, photos, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a separate app just called Drive. It's right here on mine. It's the same logo you see. And it just makes you sign in with an account. So if you're planning on using your Marywood account, then you sign in with that account and it directly corresponds. So you should be able to upload any files from your phone directly to that app.
Great.
That's a great question. Is there anything else? Because I think another thing I can show you is how to attach a Google Drive file to an email. Because that's a slightly separate process than uploading a normal file, and it's super easy too. If you go to your email and you wanted to, you know, compose something and send an attachment, and the attachment is a Google Doc or something like that, obviously you have your paper cut, or, you know, sorry, what is that called? Paperclip. That's what it's called. We have a new printing system called Papercut, and that's all I can think about.
Read about it.
Except
another thing to do.
Yep. Paperclip for attaching files. If you go down a couple other little logos, you'll see the little Google Drive icon here. And if you click on that, it opens up a mini version of your drive. You can even go to Shared with Me and do things from there. So if you wanted to attach this PDF that I have in here, you could just click on it. And there's the option to insert it as a drive link, which just kind of puts it in the email. I think it looks a little weird, so I prefer to put it in as an attachment. So you know it came from Google Drive, but they don't know. So it still looks normal. So if you click on attachment and then insert it, it just inserts at the bottom like a normal file would. But that erases the need to download it from Google Drive to then upload it to an email. You know, you could just attach it from Drive, which is super nice.
Do you mind repeating that? I kind of missed the beginning, and then I was trying to play catch up.
That's okay. I was going on about Papercut. So,
yeah, no, my mind was on that too.
Yeah. So when you go to compose an email, if you wanted to attach something from your Google Drive, it's right down on the bottom bar here, on the same level as the send button. It's the same icon, it's just in black, so it's a triangle. And if you hover over it, it says insert files using Drive.
Right.
So usually you'd use the paperclip, but there is a triangle if you want to do something from Drive.
I see.
So
okay.
if you click on that, it opens up that little Google Drive mini window of sorts with all of your folders that you have here and any of your files. And then you just click on whatever you want to add. And sometimes you have the option to make it a drive link or an attachment. But if it's like a Google file, like this Google Doc here, it's usually just going to be a drive link. So it doesn't really matter which one you select. Either one will put it right in the email. But if I clicked on this Word document, I can change it to an attachment down here, click on insert, and then it opens it up in the email as a normal attachment. So that's a nice little option. If you don't want to download it from Drive, you just want to directly attach it.
Okay.
Is there anything else you guys can think of? And it's okay if you think of something after this and you send me an email. That's totally fine.
How do you create a folder again? I mean, like,
Sure.
so, you know, like I have them sending me, I have old ones, like old programs that I like to keep because then I could send it to them as a sample. So, but, you know, if I could put that student, like maybe have 5 or 6 of them in the process so we were working, or just have a folder of them that I could send from the folder.
Right.
Does that make sense instead of having them all over?
No, that makes sense for sure. It definitely would help organize it. The best way to do it would be to be on My Drive over here on the left, and then click on New, and Folder is the first option.
Okay.
So it asks you to create the name of the folder. So if you wanted to say like, I don't know, music.
Recital, yeah, music recital, doesn't matter. Music one's fine. Yeah.
Music recital. You can click create, and it puts it right up here in your folders. And then you can open it up with a double left click and upload any files by just clicking on new and then file upload. Or if you wanted to, you know, create them, you can. If they're already in your drive, you can just click and drag like we mentioned before. So if this was one, you can just click and drag it up and then release the left click and it goes right in. Lets you know what you've moved. So if you undid or if you did something you didn't want to, you could always undo it.
Yeah.
But yeah, click and drag is probably the best bet unless you already have them on your computer and you just want to upload them that way. Completely up to you.
Good.
And if they were shared with you through Google Drive, that shared with me shortcut section would be really great. You just right click it, add shortcut to Drive, and then find your folder. So music recital, and then add the shortcut and it would go straight in there. That's if they shared it with you though.
Yeah.
I guess the last thing I'll mention is the rest of these little areas over here. The recent would be anything you've touched recently. So I opened up these 3 documents, and when I click on recent, those are the top 3 that show up. But I have everything from yesterday, last week, on and on, earlier this month, things like that. Starred is also a section that you can kind of curate yourself. So if you wanted to put something in Starred because you know you're going to be accessing it all the time, you can right click on it and then add to Starred as an option. So if you did that, it adds it to the Starred section so that it's easy to access. You don't have to dig into any folders. It's just another way to organize essentially. And then trash is a lot like your email trash. It's whatever you've removed from Google Drive, and then it stays in here, I think, for 30 days. And then if you wanted to completely delete it forever, you can just kind of click on that trash can, or you can restore it from trash whenever you like within that 30 days. And then priority isn't really a priority. It's kind of a new feature that we're still kind of playing around with, but it's nice if you have like a whole bunch of forms because it tells you whenever you have new responses. So things like that, but usually people don't touch it. So My Drive is good enough. But yeah, do you guys have any other questions for me? Anything that was unclear?
That's very helpful, Riley.
Yeah, very much. So I know I didn't sign up for these things because my daughter's visiting, and I just didn't know if I was going to. So I think there's something next week on Moodle Basics.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I don't really need to use it that much, I don't think. But are you doing that?
Moodle Basics and all of the Moodle trainings will be done by Margaret Mathias.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's okay to just click on and come in like we did today. Is that right?
Yeah, I think in the email it even said if you need to drop in, here's the link for it. So
It did. Yeah. That's what I was comforted by.
Yeah, exactly. So as you can see, it's informal. So
Can I ask you a question that's not related to this?
sure.
I can't seem to get into my Marywood app. Every time I put my password in, it says it doesn't recognize it. Who should I go to?
Well, a lot of people have been coming to the IT department, and I've been telling them to use their email without the Marry You part of it, and then their portal password, because that's what's been working. And I know for a lot of people, the portal password is different than their email password, so it's a weird combo.
Yes. Okay. So Marywood, just marywood.edu with my name, and then go use my portal password.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's worked for, I think, everyone. So hopefully that works for you.
Okay. Yeah. I haven't tried it without the Marry You, so I'll try it. I tried everything.
Yeah, definitely try it without Marry You and use the portal/Moodle password.
Okay.
That should be what gets you in.
Good.
I will stop the recording then, because I think we're done with